Okay, Hardway Garage, March 20th, 2022. I'm going to show you what I did on my 54 pickup. We call them Old Blue. I know you've seen the videos before, but I had a little too much play, I thought, in the steering wheel as you're going on the road. Just back and forth play where there was no response from the front wheels. So I got underneath it and checked all the steering components. I know I put a Pitman arm and an idler arm on it a few years back when I owned the truck the first time around. And I had Drew get in the cab and move the steering wheel. And I could see that everything from the steering box to the wheels seemed pretty tight. It was the steering wheel to the steering box is where there was probably, maybe 2 inches circumference of the steering wheel movement before the steering box arm moved at all. So that generally means you got too much play in the steering box. So on this one, right down there's the steering box. You can see it. Okay, there's a little plug here for putting fluid in it. We'll get to that in a minute. But on the bottom of it is a really big nut that's got notches in it, and it's got a slot in the middle of it. And I'm going to put my phone down here and try to show you this from the bottom. It looks like I could stand to get a little more light down there. Let me get another flashlight here. Well, easier said than done. Anyway, you get the idea of that big nut there. See the notches in it? You use a little chisel and a hammer and loosen that. And then in the middle of that, nut is a slotted thing. See that? You're not going to find a screwdriver big enough to turn that, so use another chisel or a pry bar or whatever, and make sure the lock nut is good and loose. And then I just tighten that in. By the way, make sure you jack up the front end of the truck and take the weight off the wheels before you do this. That's what's recommended on everything I saw online. So I did that, obviously, and then I put another chisel in that slot, put a crescent wrench on it, and tighten it up. It didn't move too well at first, so I had to use a chisel and a hammer on the end of it, inside the notch, and just tap it. And it probably moved, I don't know, maybe 1/8 of an inch. But when you're dealing with the steering box, which has a worm gear in it, 1/8 of an inch is actually quite a bit. So I was happy with that. I couldn't get it to go any further. I didn't force it and go crazy or anything. And then you just tighten that lock nut again with a little chisel or a punch and a hammer. Mine was a little hard to get to because the guy I got the truck back from put this oil filter on here, which is cool, but I had to take the filter off to get my chisel in there. And then you fill it on that plug right there. That is where the controversy comes in as to what you should put in there. And I'm going to do that in a separate video so it doesn't get too long of a video.